In the vibrant heart of Kinshasa, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where the sun kisses the horizon with a golden hue, lives Malik, a devoted yoga instructor whose serene presence offers a refuge in a world often shrouded in chaos. Each morning, as the first rays of light break through the urban landscape, Malik rolls out his mat on the weathered wooden floor of his studio. The scent of incense mingles with the earthy aroma of the city, creating an atmosphere that invites tranquility. Respected by his community, Malik is known not only for his expertise in yoga, but for the warmth he brings to his students. He carries the weight of responsibility with grace, a loving husband to his wife and a nurturing father to their young son, Amani. Yet beneath this calm exterior lies a deep yearning, a longing for a connection that transcends the ordinary boundaries of life. Malik often finds himself reflecting on the delicate balance of love and duty, questioning whether he is truly fulfilled in his marriage or if there's something deeper, something more primal that he craves. As he guides his students through their poses, his voice soothing yet filled with an undercurrent of melancholy, Malik often catches fleeting glimpses of the life he might have lived, should he have taken a different path. His laughter with Amani echoes through their small, cozy home, where bedtime stories are shared and dreams are nurtured. Yet in those quiet moments alone, he feels the shadows of loneliness creeping in, whispering doubts that threaten to unravel the fabric of his carefully constructed world. In a city bursting with life, Malik's heart beats for something more, something he cannot yet name, a desire that will soon lead him down a path of passion, betrayal, and tragedy. David, a 22-year-old searching for solace amidst the storms of his life, arrives in Kinshasa with the weight of the world on his shoulders. Once a bright-eyed student filled with dreams and ambitions, he has recently faced the harsh realities of heartbreak and loss. The echoes of his past reverberate through his mind. A broken relationship, the death of a close friend, and the gnawing feeling of loneliness that clings to him like a shadow. He feels adrift, desperately seeking a way to anchor himself in a city bustling with life, yet often feeling achingly isolated. One fateful afternoon, David stumbles upon Malik's yoga studio while wandering the vibrant streets, drawn in by the peaceful melodies that float through the open windows. The studio, adorned with colorful tapestries and fragrant flowers, feels like a sanctuary, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. Hesitant yet hopeful, he steps inside, unsure of what to expect but yearning for something to fill the void in his heart. As he takes his place on the mat, David's gaze falls upon Malik, the instructor who radiates calm and wisdom. Malik's presence is magnetic. He moves with a grace that captivates David, whose heart begins to flutter with an unexplainable longing. With each word Malik speaks, guiding the class through deep breaths and flowing poses, David feels a connection he hasn't felt in years, an emotional pull that stirs something deep within him. For the first time in a long while, David feels a flicker of hope and belonging. As they transition into the next pose, he catches Malik's eye, and in that brief moment, a spark ignites, setting the stage for an unexpected and powerful bond. Little does David know, this encounter will change the course of both their lives forever. As weeks turn into months, the bond between Malik and David deepens, rooted in a shared passion for yoga and a mutual search for solace. Their late-night sessions become sacred rituals, filled with laughter, whispered secrets, and an unspoken understanding that transcends words. Each class is an opportunity for David to absorb Malik's wisdom, while Malik, in turn, finds himself drawn to David's youthful spirit and genuine desire for growth. During their quiet moments after class, as the last rays of sunlight fade and the moon takes its place in the sky, David confides in Malik about his struggles. He shares stories of his past, the heartbreaks that have scarred him, and the longing for acceptance that drives him. Malik listens intently, his heart aching with empathy, and in those moments, he feels an emotional connection that he has never experienced before. David's vulnerability ignites something within Malik, a desire for intimacy that he had long buried beneath the responsibilities of family and duty. However, with each passing day, Malik grapples with the weight of guilt. He is a devoted husband and father, and the thought of betraying his family looms like a dark cloud over his heart. Yet the allure of his relationship with David is intoxicating, providing a balm for his soul. They steal moments together, sharing lingering touches and stolen glances that send shivers down Malik's spine. The line between mentor and lover blurs, and Malik finds himself consumed by a whirlwind of emotions, a longing for connection, a fear of discovery, and an overwhelming sense of loss. One evening, as they practice side by side, Malik turns to David, their bodies mere inches apart, and feels the electric energy crackling in the air. It is in that moment, as their eyes lock, that Malik knows he is crossing a line he can never uncross. David's gaze is filled with yearning, and Malik feels the walls around his heart begin to crumble. Torn between his love for his family and the intoxicating pull of this new relationship, Malik is caught in a storm of desire and guilt, knowing that he stands at the precipice of a choice that could shatter everything he holds dear. The thrill of their secret affair intertwines with the anguish of betrayal, creating a tension that both exhilarates and terrifies Malik. As they succumb to their feelings, he wonders how far he is willing to go for love, even as the storm clouds of consequence gather ominously on the horizon. Part 4. Amani, Malik's bright-eyed and curious young son, often spends his evenings waiting for his father to return home from yoga class. At just 10 years old, he idolizes Malik, seeing him as a pillar of strength and wisdom in a world that can often feel overwhelming. The bond between father and son is strong, filled with laughter, bedtime stories, and shared dreams of the future. Yet on that fateful evening, Amani's innocent world begins to unravel in a way he could never have anticipated. While playing quietly in his room, Amani overhears a conversation that shatters his perception of his father. Malik, unaware that Amani is within earshot, speaks softly on the phone, his voice tinged with an emotion Amani has never heard before. It is a tone filled with longing and intimacy, and as Amani strains to hear the words, the realization dawns on him that Malik is speaking to someone named David, someone he has never met, but whose name feels like a dagger to his heart. The shock washes over Amani like a tidal wave, leaving him breathless and bewildered. Confusion quickly morphs into betrayal as he struggles to comprehend the gravity of what he has just learned. His heart races, each beat echoing the pain of discovering that his father, the man he trusted most, is entangled in a secret that threatens to tear their family apart. In a whirlwind of emotions, hurt, anger, and a deep sense of loss, Amani confronts Malik. The words spill from his lips, raw and unfiltered. "How could you do this to us?" The betrayal lingers heavy in the air, each word a reflection of Amani's shattered trust. In that moment, as Malik attempts to explain and reassure him, Amani's world feels like it is collapsing. The father he once viewed as invincible now appears vulnerable and flawed, leaving Amani grappling with a profound sense of heartache. The innocence of his childhood is slipping away, replaced by the painful knowledge that love can sometimes lead to unimaginable sorrow. The air was thick with tension as Amani's heart raced, fueled by a mixture of anger and confusion. His world had been turned upside down, and the name David echoed relentlessly in his mind like a haunting melody. Determined to confront the truth, he decided to find David, the man who had woven himself into his father's life and, unbeknownst to him, into the fabric of their family's heartbreak. Amani tracked down David to a dimly lit park near the yoga studio, where the flickering streetlights cast long shadows. As he approached, his pulse quickened with each step. He could hardly contain the storm brewing inside him, a whirlwind of betrayal, hurt, and a desperate need for answers. He spotted David sitting on a bench, seemingly lost in thought, unaware of the confrontation that was about to unfold. "David!" Amani called out, his voice trembling with a mix of defiance and fear. David looked up, his expression shifting from surprise to apprehension as he recognized the young boy standing before him. "What are you doing here, Amani?" David asked, trying to mask his unease with a forced calm, but Amani could see through it, the guilt reflected in David's eyes only stoking the fire of his anger. "You know why I'm here," Amani shot back, his voice rising. "You're the reason my family is falling apart. How could you do this to my dad?" David opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. He shifted uncomfortably, realizing the gravity of the situation. Amani, No! Amani interrupted, his frustration boiling over. You think this is just a game? My dad loves you, and now everything is ruined because of you. The confrontation was charged with raw emotion, and Amani's fists clenched at his sides as he struggled to maintain control. He felt a mix of fury and heartbreak, the very foundation of his childhood crumbling around him. David, sensing the weight of Amani's words, took a deep breath, grappling with guilt and shame. I never meant for any of this to happen, David finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't want to hurt anyone, but Amani wasn't ready to hear excuses. You need to tell him the truth, he demanded, his voice trembling but resolute. You need to tell my dad what you've done. Just then, the sound of Malik's footsteps echoed in the distance, growing louder. The moment felt suspended in time, and Amani's heart raced as he realized the confrontation was about to escalate. The reality of his father's arrival loomed over them like a storm cloud, threatening to unleash chaos. In that charged atmosphere, the air thick with unresolved tension and unspoken words, Amani braced himself for the storm that was about to break, the confrontation that would change everything. The atmosphere in the park crackled with tension as Malik arrived, breathless and anxious. His heart raced, sensing that something was terribly wrong. The sight before him sent a chill down his spine. Amani stood facing David, anger and betrayal etched across his young face. David's expression was a mixture of guilt and fear, his eyes darting between the two. Amani! Malik called out, rushing forward, but before he could reach them, the weight of emotions erupted like a dam breaking. Amani, overwhelmed with rage and hurt, pointed an accusatory finger at David. You've hurt my dad and you need to leave him alone. Malik's heart sank as he processed the words, the realization dawning on him with a heavy finality. In that moment, the facade of love and connection he had built with David shattered, leaving behind a raw wound of betrayal. The truth, once hidden, lay bare before him, and the consequences of his choices began to spiral out of control. Malik, I can explain, David stammered, his voice trembling as he stepped forward. But before he could utter another word, Malik felt an overwhelming wave of despair wash over him. The emotional turmoil erupted as he instinctively moved to protect his son, caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. In a moment of panic and desperation, Malik reached for David, his hands trembling. Get away from him, he shouted, but as he pushed David away, time seemed to slow. David stumbled back, falling hard against the ground. The sickening thud echoed through the air, a sound that would forever haunt Malik's conscience. David lay motionless, the world around them falling silent. Malik's heart raced as reality set in. He had crossed an irreversible line. In that instant, he understood the true tragedy of the situation. A moment of rage had transformed their lives forever, and the consequences of his actions would echo through their hearts like a haunting melody, forever altering the course of their lives. The days that followed the tragic confrontation were a blur for Malik. The once vibrant colors of his life dulled into shades of gray, overshadowed by the haunting memory of David lying motionless on the ground. News of the incident spread rapidly through the community, and whispers of tragedy and betrayal followed Malik like a dark cloud. He was no longer the respected yoga instructor. He was now the prime suspect in a growing investigation that gripped the city with morbid curiosity. Detectives arrived at his home, their presence a stark reminder of the reality he wished to escape. Malik sat across from them in a dimly lit interrogation room, his hands trembling slightly as he faced the officers. The sharp, sterile environment felt suffocating, amplifying the guilt gnawing at his conscience. Mr. Malik, one detective began, his voice steady yet firm. We need to understand what happened during the confrontation with David. Can you recount the events for us? Malik felt the weight of their gaze, and for a moment he struggled to find the words. He recalled the rising anger in Amani's voice, the palpable tension in the air, and the sickening push that had changed everything. I didn't mean to hurt him, he stammered, his voice breaking under the weight of the truth. I just wanted to protect my son. The detectives listened intently, jotting down notes as Malik recounted the nightmarish details. Each word felt like a dagger, carving deeper into his soul. As they probed deeper, asking about his relationship with David, Malik was forced to confront the complex emotions he had tried so hard to bury. David was, he was someone who understood me, Malik admitted, his voice trembling. I let my feelings take over, and now I've lost everything. The regret washed over him like a cold wave. The love he once felt for David now twisted into a profound sorrow. Days turned into weeks as the investigation unfolded, and Malik found himself reflecting on the moments shared with David. The laughter, the connection, the stolen glances. What had begun as a sanctuary from his mundane life had transformed into a prison of his own making. The walls that had once enclosed a vibrant love now felt like a cage, confining him to memories of a man who had sparked something deep within him, but also led him down a path of destruction. As he awaited the inevitable outcome of the investigation, Malik grappled with the harsh reality that his choices had irrevocably altered the lives of those he loved. The echoes of his past actions would follow him like shadows, serving as a constant reminder of the fragile line between love and tragedy. The courtroom was a somber arena, a place where lives could be irrevocably altered by the judgments rendered within its walls. As Malik entered, the air was thick with tension, the stark white walls seemingly closing in on him. He wore a dark suit, his hands clammy with anxiety. Each step felt heavier than the last as he faced the gathered crowd, their whispers slicing through the silence like a knife. Family, friends, and onlookers filled the benches, eyes fixed on him with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. The judge, an austere figure draped in black robes, presided over the proceedings, setting a tone of gravity that echoed throughout the room. Malik's heart raced as he took his seat at the defendant's table, the weight of the charges against him hanging heavily in the air. Manslaughter. The word reverberated in his mind, a constant reminder of the tragic events that had unfolded and the life-altering consequences that lay ahead. As the trial commenced, the prosecution laid out its case with precision, painting Malik as a man consumed by rage. The lead prosecutor, a sharp and determined woman, recounted the events leading up to David's death, her voice dripping with indignation. This was not an accident, she argued, emphasizing Malik's role in the confrontation. This was a calculated act of violence driven by jealousy and betrayal. Malik's heart sank as she spoke. Each accusation felt like a blow, shattering the remnants of his dignity. He had never intended to harm David, but the prosecution's portrayal left little room for sympathy. Witnesses testified, some recalling the heated confrontation, others sharing their shock at the incident. The words protecting his son were lost in the noise, overshadowed by the narrative that painted Malik as the villain. On the defense side, Malik's attorney attempted to shift the focus. This is not a story of malice, she pleaded. This is a story of a father trying to protect his son, caught in a moment of chaos. The words hung in the air, a desperate attempt to salvage Malik's reputation and humanity. Throughout the trial, Malik's family sat in the gallery, their expressions a tapestry of pain and confusion. Amani's small frame, tense and fraught with worry, made Malik's heart ache. His wife, once a pillar of support, now wore a mask of despair, caught in the tumult of emotions that engulfed their family. As the trial progressed, the emotional stakes escalated. Each piece of evidence presented felt like a dagger to Malik's heart, reminding him of the love he had lost and the relationships he had fractured. The whispers of judgment lingered, but amidst the chaos, Malik held on to the hope that somehow the truth would prevail. He clung to the belief that his love for David, though tragic, had never been born from malice, and that the love of his family might still guide him through the darkness that enveloped them all. The day of the verdict arrived, heavy with anticipation and dread. The courtroom buzzed with an electric tension, each spectator bracing themselves for the moment that would seal Malik's fate. Malik sat in his seat, his heart pounding in his chest, a mixture of hope and despair swirling within him. He could hardly bear to look at Amani and his wife, whose faces reflected the weight of uncertainty and fear.